Hello, and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. This episode we have Netflix's 321st film from 2020. It's the Dutch-Belgian Christmas film, The Claus Family, or in Dutch, De Familie Claus. It's directed by Matthias Temmermans and stars Jan Decleir, Bakker and Stefaan Degand. I'm Jesse, I am your host. Thank you for jumping on board for this Christmas episode again in the middle of what feels like a Christmas cold season in Australia at the moment. But we, as always, like to give a little bit of a warning that we will spoil the show as we go. So if you wanted to check this one out, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because we do start the show off with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one is about a kid who's lost his love for Christmas, and it's up to his grandfather Claus to help him rediscover it. This is a very, one of those typical Christmas films that you're going to know how it's going to end and what's going to happen in it from the first moment, but what are my thoughts on it? We will get to that very soon. We do like to speak about how it ended up on Netflix. Not much really that I can say. This is the first Dutch-Belgian Netflix original film, and the film has spawned two sequels. So the Claus Family 2, which came out in 2021, and that focuses on the character Jules trying to reunite a young family's girl, in which his grandfather Noel refuses to do. And then also there's the Claus Family 3, which was released in 2022, and that focuses on Jules' little sister Nora, who discovers that her grandpa is Santa Claus and helps Santa and Jules out. And it looks like a fourth has been announced as well, so obviously Netflix are liking what they say with these and keep putting them out. So the guy Decleir, Jan Decleir, he plays Santa Claus in this one, or Father Christmas. He is a well-known Belgian actor, and he's been known to play Saint Nicholas on television over there as well, and he's one of their most well-known and respected actors too, so sounds like a pretty good casting call for that one. This was released on Netflix worldwide on the 7th of December 2020. Looks like it did hit Netflix in quite a few territories before that, from the first week of November as well. So that's where we're at for that. It's filmed mainly in Belgium, some shots in Bulgaria as well, apparently. This was nominated for 2 awards. It won one of those, so it won Best Youth Film at the Film Festival Unsten, and it was also nominated at the Society of Composer and Lyricists Awards for Best Emerging Talent for Anne-Catherine Dern for the lyrics and sound for this one. What else have we got? The critics, the consensus, I guess. What are people saying about this film? On Rotten Tomatoes, it's only got 2 reviews. One is fresh, one's rotten, so nothing really there to help us out. Audience, a little bit low, sits at 37%. That's on less than 50 ratings, though. IMDb, again, not a lot of ratings, only a bit over 3,000. It sits at a 5.6 out of 10, so that's not too bad. Letterboxd, it sits at a 2.3 out of 5 on nearly 2,500 ratings, been logged by 3,300 people. So not a lot of people have got on to log this film, realistically. What are my early thoughts on this film? I mean, this is another international film, so it's hard to sort of get a real consensus about, what the film's going. For me, I mean, it did have some really awkward family type of moments, I guess, but its heart was in the right place, and some of the production design was really well done. I think it's classified as a really effective family Christmas film. There's not, as I go through it, it's going to sound like there's a lot of things that I'm faulting in it, but it's still a good film. It's still a good film. All right, let's talk about some characters. So, Noel Claus, Grandpa. Noel, obviously meaning Christmas, so, that's clear why they've named him that. He's getting old. He's worn out, but he still wants that Christmas spirit to live on, even though he's lost his own son. And he's got a pretty bratty grandchild, who I'll talk about now, Jules. So Jules is our co-lead in this film, the little boy. He is this bratty, stereotypical kid who doesn't like Christmas in this type of film, and he needs to go on that journey to understand the true meaning of Christmas. His big barrier is that his dad died, so Noel Claus' son, and he passed away on Christmas Eve, which brings up that trauma associated with the festive season and makes him a real grumpy little kid at various stages throughout the film. He was more up and down than a yo-yo in this film, his emotions. Suzanne is his mum. She's obviously the poor widow mother who's stuck with these 2 kids and is desperate for a fresh start and moves her family to another country for this. And she has to find a new job. It's really tricky because they show her needing to work to support the family. So the kids are pretty much left by themselves in this brand new country. And she's got to deal with this horrible boss and trying to keep track of this unpredictable teenage son as well. So tough little role for her as well. I think it was Oma, which is the grandmother. So this is Suzanne's mother. She's that overbearing grandparent who wants things her way and is never happy with what her daughter Suzanne does as a parent, and seems to think the only way a mother can provide for her children is to make sure they have a Christmas tree. I don't know how many times they went with that line in this film. Nora's the younger sister, or Nora, I think. She's the younger sister of Jules. She hasn't really had her eyes open to the world yet, and just sweetly in love with Christmas and everything that's going on. So that's that innocent side of things that we see too. The only other characters that I'll touch on, we had Holger, Gunnar, Asa, and Ika. They are the little sidekicks of Santa, meant to be these tiny little elf things. They're supposed to be humorous. They were more annoying than anything, so not too much positive to say about them. The director for this film, Matthias Temmermans, 27 directing credits. Nothing that I've heard of, and looks like he didn't come back to do the 2 sequels to this film either, but looks like some pretty good credits that he's got there. All right, scenes. What are some scenes that I liked? What are some scenes that I didn't like? It's a mixed bag. A whole bunch of stuff I liked, a whole bunch of stuff I didn't like. The opening scene of this film is cool. It's super cool. The camera moves around Santa's office. You get these great festive visuals to start the film. So I thought that was really effective and really well done. There's this short little flashback that's used, or these flashbacks that are used throughout the film to remind the audience of Jules's memories of his dad. And I thought that was really well done throughout, because it wasn't like you got these really drawn out long flashbacks. They were just these quick little short moments to relate to whatever he was dealing with at the time. So I thought that was well done. Noel, he has these customers in his store, and they're not impressed with all the broken items and missing pieces and things like that. And he makes this comment about, anything that's broken can be repaired. And the camera just cuts to Jules's face, which I thought was hilarious, because we saw how annoying and grumpy and, how he obviously needed the festive season of Christmas to be fixed for him. I thought that was clever. When Jules does get to Santa's workshop, they've got this elevator that goes up and down, and he's told that level 2 is completely out of bounds. It's off limits. And Santa and the elves are trying to distract Jules from wanting to go up there. And they're like, it's full of books, thinking that, kids hate books. And he's like, I don't mind books. And then they go with the idea that, it's filled with math books. He's like, well, I like math as well. And so then they go, well, there's French books in there. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't really like French. So I thought that was quite funny. Good little whack at the French. Holger, he's one of the elves, and he's set up as this absolute grump throughout the film. So grumpy. And there's this moment where the elves, they're all trying to get on board and be like, let's believe in Jules. And Holger's like, I'm trying. And then he's just like, nope. I thought that was funny. That was the one funny moment in the film, I think. I really liked the babysitter, Ella. She's not in it much, but the moments that she had with Jules sort of brought him alive a little bit, because I felt like the performance was pretty stunted throughout. So she was able to get through to Jules well, and I liked that moment where he was having another hissy fit. He has lots of hissy fits about losing everything that he's had. And then she takes off her prosthetic leg and talks about being, has had to give up on ballet, can't wear skirts, and that idea that, being mad at the world isn't going to change anything. So I thought that was a really nice moment. Jules finally decides to be Santa towards the end of the film, and Noel puts the Santa, his grandfather, puts the Santa outfit on him, and you can see they do it cleverly. They shoot it cleverly, where the reflection of him putting the jacket on is through the reflection of Jules's dad's painting of him being Santa too. I thought that was really well done. And finally, this connects back to Ella, the babysitter, too. Jules saves Christmas, and then there's this gift there for Ella from Santa, and it's a skirt, which links back to, when she said she can't wear them anymore because of her leg. I thought that was a really sweet moment to sort of end the film too. But what are some things that I didn't like in this? There's a couple of things. There's this character, Fareed. So Fareed is a co-worker of Jules's mum, Suzanne, and the moment he comes on screen at this cookie workshop, it was like that obvious love interest straight away. I thought that was really bad. Really, really bad. And almost laughable, because then Suzanne gets a call saying that her father-in-law's in hospital, and Fareed's like, I'll take you. She's known this guy for 2 minutes, drives her to the hospital, and then the kids are there, and he's just standing there. He's like, okay, I'll go wait in the car. It was just funny. Every single one of Jules's tantrums, it was on the verge of ridiculous. How many times he just cracked it and stormed off. His mum telling him that her friends, they're in a new country. She's made these friends at work. Fareed and Het, I think her name was, and Mum's like, they're just going to come over so we can brainstorm some cookie ideas. And he has a tantrum. The other one that stood out too was his sister Nora. And we've got some context because when he's being Santa, he visits a house where there's this kid that's drawn a letter to Santa asking for their dad to come home, and he sees his sister do it as well, and then he cracks it as well. And they were just big tantrums, and they were just two of the bigger ones. These happened throughout. The elf people, I mentioned them before. 99% of their scenes were woeful, especially that Gunnar one whenever she decided she wanted to sing as well. Woeful. Jules going to see Santa's workshop, and then the first time he's there, and then all of a sudden it's like he's a different character because he wants to get into action and help with Christmas, but he still hates it. Anyway, the whole idea of Suzanne, the mum, wanting to start this cookie revolution because the cookie factories across town are going to be closed. Who cares? I'm sorry, it just didn't work. I think that this is probably the first time where, in a Netflix original film, where I wrote down the really naughty C word in reference to Jules and how he was reacting to the whole situation about Christmas. It was on the verge of discussing how much they made this kid hate Christmas, and the way he acted, especially when he goes back and he's really grumpy and he's packing the toys in the stockings and he's just putting the wrong toys in. I just hated it. Couple more. Jules, we know they set up level 2 at Santa's workshop. You can't go there. When he decides to get in the lift and go there, the elves and Santa are like, oh no, not level 2. It's just funny. And finally, Jules's line when he cracks it and he says, Dad is dead and so is Santa. Oh god. All right. Themes, ideas. What's this film saying? It's nice. It is a good film. I know that there's a few laughable scenes there, I said, but there's some good themes. Like, obviously Jules is dealing with trauma. He's dealing with grief, losing a loved one and not knowing how to move on. And that idea of new beginnings. How do you start new beginnings if you haven't quite moved on yet? So that all makes sense. That idea too of celebrating the light, no matter how dark it gets. It's not just, yes, this film we see Jules is impacted, but we also know that Santa, the grandfather's impacted. We know his mother's impacted. She's lost her husband. And that idea that anything is broken can be repaired. Even that idea of faith in Christmas too. And the importance of carrying on the Christmas tradition. That's an important thing to family, because in here too, we know that family does come first. Finally, that idea that no one can force kids to do anything. I feel like Jules played on that line quite a lot. No one can force me to do anything. No one can make me move on. No one can make me be Santa. No one can make me do this. I'm not sure that it's a great idea that they kept pushing, because, yes, let kids be kids, but also show some respect, because there are times in this film that Jules was just out of control. And that's not necessarily on the poor kid that had to play the character, but that's on a lot of the writing that he was given for the character too. What did I take away from this film? I think it's a nice moment when you can look at a film like this that obviously is about Santa and magical sort of stuff like this. There wasn't an overuse on special effects. I think there was one moment where he goes on this little gallivanting trip using the snow globe and he ends up in the ocean, and I think that was probably the only scene that looked really poor. The rest of it, it seemed like a lot of good practical effects throughout, and it sort of blended in seamlessly. So the other big takeaway, the set designs were excellent, so good. It just looked warm, cozy, like a real place. So I thought that was really well done too. Questions, ponderings, thoughts, ideas. I've got one little thing. I just wanted to sort of the whole Christmas timeline. So we see Jules jump on board with Santa to deliver gifts, and they do it over multiple nights. I was a little bit confused, and then I was sort of thinking, okay, is this because, and I obviously know, I understand how the world timeline works and things like that, and Santa's got to start pretty early, but that idea is that because of the different times that Christmas is celebrated in Europe, that they've got different times that they could do the gift giving. That was the only sort of thing that confused me a little bit. That would be my reasoning behind it. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong on that though. All right, I'm ready to wrap this up. We give the films we cover a rating out of 5 for me. The film, it never gets too heavy or too dark. And I like that. I like that there's no big horrendous villain or anything like that that sort of sidetracks you from the family message that it's trying to put across. And obviously this one too, that idea of moving on and the ability to move on. And I think that makes this perfect family entertainment. The lead kid who plays Jules, he struggles at times, but you can overlook that and get behind this film. So I'm giving this a 3 out of 5. Solid for me, 3 out of 5. We have socials, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, and we have X, formerly known as Twitter. The question I want to put out there is, do you have a Christmas snow globe? I know that it's a snow globe, and obviously that's in relation to this film. Like, that's how Santa, there's no reindeers in this film. To get into people's houses, Santa uses a snow globe. So I thought that was a different little take on the Santa idea too. And I know that some people, have family heirlooms that are like snow globes that get passed down, and they're a big part. I don't have a Christmas snow globe. I do like snow globes though. Over the years I have had snow globes, but yeah, I was just interested to see if anyone actually has that a part of their family tradition, a snow globe, or like a family photo in it as well. Let us know. Other than that, we are back next week. We do have another international film next week from 2020. Next week, it's the Italian comedy drama called Rose Island, or L'incredible storia della Zola della Rose. It's directed by Sidney Sibilia and stars Leo Germano, Matilda De Angelis, Leonardo Lidi, Fabrizio Bentivogli, Luca Cingaretti, and Francois Cluzet. That's what we got next week. Cool. No idea what it's going to be about. Keen to check it out. I like anything that doesn't sound like a Christmas film at this stage. The amount of Christmas films I've done the last couple of weeks. So, as always, thanks for hanging out and enjoying this show. Hopefully, give us a rating on your favorite podcast platform too. Keeps us around and helps other people find us. So, as always, see you next week. Thanks for hanging out.